Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bond Voyage podcast, where we talk about a little bit of everything, stuff that we bond about. Today's episode is about Ultimate Spider-Man, or I should say everything Ultimate Spider-Man related. And my guest today is JD.
Howdy.
As you, JD is one cosplayer in the Midwest community and has, well, you can introduce yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. I'm JD, as was said. Um, my username on pretty much everything is madisonwallcrawler. Because I'm Madison, Wisconsin. Um, I cosplay. I'm a multi-fandom cosplayer. Primarily Spider-Man, but also Bumblebee from the Transformers. Robin. Nightwing. Um, and Ted Cord, Blue Beetle. Um, yeah, happy to be here. I'm a kind of a huge junkie of the original Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, same here. Banned since early 2000s as well, from the commercials in the game.
Yeah, I got to it a little late, but I think it ended up being kind of a good thing. I got into it in my freshman year of high school, so I felt where Peter was at very much so back then.
Yeah, I remember following it loosely since I didn't read comics. I mean, I did read comics, but I didn't like follow the comics like from the beginning to the end. So I didn't get to start reading it until like high school as well.
Yeah, they're not exactly the most accessible when you're a kid. It's hard to constantly convince your parents to buy you the next month's issue.
It's true. But hey, maybe it's more easier now, post high school, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can swing down to the comic book store yourself.
All right. We're going to start this first section with the 1610 Ultimate Universe. This was the era that started in the early 2000s, ended around 2015. And our first question is, which is your favorite era of the 1610 comics? And which is your favorite character?
Oh man, my favorite character. I mean, right away is just is Peter. I think that 1610 Peter is the best like modernization of that original Ditko high school Peter Parker because I mean man, it was a little tame in hindsight because of the writing style of the 60s, but that original 616 Peter was, I mean, he was an angsty kid. He was very angry at the world, and I have to say Peter because he feels very right. And I like that he he kind of pulls a Naruto in a lot of situations in the way that he talks villains down rather than just punching them. Which I think is a strength of Spider-Man. Definitely is his empathy. Um, as far as favorite era, that's kind of tough. I mean, really, I think it was a hot streak all the way up until the end of the Clone Saga. Honestly, I think everything that Bendis and Bagley worked on was just it was consistently good, in if not only getting better. I'm sure there were a couple of dud issues here and there, but between Kingpin and Norman and Otto and Venom and the X-Men's involvement, everything in that era was very just firing on all cylinders. How about you?
Well, I can start with my favorite era, which is also the Bagley and Bendis era. I think the last for like the since you mentioned the fall, the like at some point it started to not be as great. Uh, I feel the part it started to not feel as great is right after the second when they adapted the symbiote arc. Like not the early one, but like the one where
With
Eddie
uh with
comes back
with
and
Carnage,
yeah,
you talk? Yeah,
like
definitely starts to fall off there.
like that was a not so bad story. Um, I do think eventually it started to fall off quality wise,
I I,
story wise.
I agree.
And as for favorite character, well, Peter as well, like as you mentioned, Ditko era, but also at times he's quite funny, but also he has like a lot of dramatic moments of like self doubt, tension, like with relationships, including with his Aunt May and MJ. And well, since we're talking about favorite characters, I would say my second favorite would potentially be probably Norman.
Really good take on Norman. His god complex was very interesting.
A terrifying version too.
Yeah, I am pro goblin transformation. I think it's a fun angle.
I agree. It like I really like the update for Norman. Uh I do think that's like a great natural way to have the green look for the character.
Yeah, I think if you were trying to do in the Ultimate Universe with its slightly more grounded takes and very like techie aesthetic, I think if you tried to throw the guy in an elf costume with the big curly shoes and the scale mail arms, I think it would have. I don't think it would have translated quite as well.
And then the funny part about it is like originally his design was like just the purple like pants, like a cloak. His
Yeah,
chest was like normal skin color, and
yeah, it
then
was
his
weird.
face was his face was green, which I'm like, wait, why is his design like? But then they modify it where like, oh yeah, when he's fully green, that means he's like fully
That's
goblin mode.
well, that's when he's been like dosing with more of the Oz formula.
Yeah,
He juices himself up to fully green, and his face also becomes like less human.
yeah, and that's like something I'm like, oh, I really love that design, and
Yeah, he kind of hulks out.
literally,
Yeah, he's big green guy with purple pants.
he shoot fireballs.
It's I love that take too. Very good update on the pumpkin bombs.
Very fun too, because it brings like a lot of like, oh, there's like a lot of tension going on here and there.
Yeah, it's a new type of danger. I enjoy it. At least, well, I say a new, but I mean more so. It's a unique type amongst the other ultimate villains.
Yeah,
I did think of another character that I enjoy. Just because I feel so bad for the guy. I worked up a soft spot because they make him the punching bag at the beginning of almost every arc. Poor Herman Schultz, man, he cannot get a break in the Ultimate Universe at all.
he really
Even when he has his moment when he's got Peter trapped in the warehouse, he still comes out the loser of that one.
that's true. Herman is like really iconic for that reason. Pretty funny. It was also pretty funny because like when they switch art styles, because when you see Herman, he has like white hair and like a really puffy like winter clothes, and then the
Yeah,
next time you see him, he's like brown, long hair, and like a
he's got
jumpsuit.
just
It's like
kind of frosted tips too, because you can tell he's just been dyeing his hair white.
yeah, and then the next time you see him like in the warehouse scene, it's like, oh, he glowed up because he got really pissed off.
Oh yeah. No, he I mean he was fed up. That was also the best thing that ever happened with Ultimate Jonah was probably that little mini arc there with Herman and saying he'll pay for Peter's college.
Yeah, that was like a really cool thing.
Ultimate Jonah.
Yeah, Ultimate Jonah was really cool, especially during the final arc when Peter gets like fired and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna hire you back.
Yeah, well, and you know, I just he never even really seemed like he was going after Spider-Man in this universe because he hated him. He just knew it would get them publicity. He was just like, this is the hot story, and I'm gonna run with it. So he never even really fully had that vendetta like 616 Jonah does, which I think is a little more realistic.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me. It does connect with what's this Ben Urich in this universe.
Yeah, Ben was really prominent in this universe.
He was like one of the first few people to know Peter was Spider Man. He's like, I'm not gonna say anything about who you are.
Yeah, and it's funny. He never technically got it confirmed. He just had a really strong hunch and was right.
Yeah,
Which is cool. I mean, that shows how good of a reporter he is. Or I guess, well, yeah, no reporter. Part of it's investigation.
yeah, and then he also had like a really emotional scene during the ultimatum arc where he's like not sure if he's gonna make it out, and he calls his
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah. Oh man, that was crushing.
Yeah,
That ultimatum uh bit was, but I still insist, was best done through Spider-Man.
really was. I don't think the arc was that like the entire ultimatum thing wasn't bad. It's just they could have reworked some stuff in the main event, but
Yeah.
the
Go ahead.
sorry, but everything else like outside of the main event was like mostly done really well.
No, definitely. Yeah, my main gripe with it was just, my main gripe was some of the people that they chose to kill off, and some of the side effects that it had on some of the X-Men characters moving forward, mainly, you know, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Uh,
Um, but we don't need to we don't need to get into that.
that's
Um,
true.
but yeah, no. Outside of those two little things, I think it was, largely not that bad.
All right, I'm
Um,
gonna.
yeah, go on.
Uh,
Sorry.
no, you good. I guess we could move to the second question. I guess.
Yeah.
Favorite moment in the 1610 era.
Oh God, I mean, we definitely touched on a few just now, but favorite moment. I think it has to be when Peter and May reconcile after her initial, like, viscerally negative reaction to finding out that Peter is Spider-Man. When they, like, come back together at the house, and I think it's right as they're moving. Which is funny because they're only moving like a few streets over. But when they're moving, and they have kind of that conversation, and May kind of learns why Peter's really doing all of it, and she kind of realizes she was wrong about Spider-Man. They just have this really real, like, mother son, like, bonding moment. I think that's kind of, it's a really big step for them, and I always loved 1610 Aunt May. I think she's probably my favorite version of May. Um, but I think that's one of the main moments that really made me feel that way.
For me, it is kind of related to like you mentioned Aunt May and Peter. During the final arc, where he's like doing his best to protect May during that entire chaos that happens in the final arc, and eventually, kind of like full circle as once again like from reconcile, they reconcile once more before he like passes on,
Yeah, I know what you're getting at.
and it's like really heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's like really really great storytelling that Bendis was doing there.
Yeah, with the, I couldn't save him, but I saved you.
Yeah,
It's crushing, genuinely. I
yeah.
Yeah, God, I mean, okay, obviously everything can be said for the death of Spider-Man. I think it was definitely the best portrayed version of Peter's death. Um I don't even think it's close really. But as for, like, living moments though, I really liked that. Um I mean, I suppose yours was, he was still alive technically, but I mean, he was about 1 foot in the grave at that point. I think another really cool moment. It's not like a, I guess it's not necessarily like a satisfying moment, but just one that really made me, like, kind of kind of reel back a little bit when I was reading it, was just the scene when Peter gets invited over to the Osborns and he walks into Norman's office and he's just watching over and over that footage of Spider-Man, and just talking to Peter so casually about it, like he already knows. I mean, because he does know, but just the way he reveals it to Peter as if it's not even a big deal that he knows. It's just it sends like a chill up my spine every time I read it.
That kind of reminds me when Venom shows up to his high school.
Yeah, and they fight in the football field. Very cool scene.
Like the tension that you see, like Peter notices him outside, and he's like, I could pretend nothing's going on, but he might come in and hurt everyone, or I could go outside and handle the situation outside and make
I,
sure
I
everyone's safe.
and the fact that he doesn't even come up with an excuse, like he's not like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom or anything. He just leaves. Like
Yes,
that's the level of urgency that they're at. He doesn't even have time to work on an excuse. He just needed to get outside right away.
and then
So good.
we get that cool panel.
Yeah, Peter with his hands in his pockets with the hood draped over and just Venom like snarling at him in the rain.
So so fucking cool that scene.
A very cool scene. And I'm not even a very big Venom fan, fun fact. Pretty much the only version of him that I'm like a super big fan of is the version in Spectacular Spider-Man, but I think 1610 is probably my second favorite. And I think it's partially for moments like those.
Yeah, for me, 1610 Venom is one of my favorite versions of Venom. Uh, except for the weird thing with him and Gwen.
Yep,
But
nope, definitely.
other
Definitely not great.
other than that, such a menacing version of the character.
Yeah, I will say though, to not not that I'm defending that necessarily, because that's absolutely awful. Uh, does make your character more hateable though.
That's true.
Does make your villain more nasty when they're just a bad person.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Then again, with certain things I've heard about Bagley in recent years, maybe it's not too surprising.
Oh no.
Yeah, it ain't great.
Uh,
Such a fall from grace.
I didn't even know about that part. Oh,
Yeah, there's some art that came out of particularly 1610 Mary Jane. It's
oh no.
it's rough. It is not great.
Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to like read what Spider Twitter or Reddit is saying about it.
Yeah, definitely
Because
something to consider.
okay.
But for a later date.
Yeah, that's really
I'm just here to admire the dude's art for now.
yes, yes. Which that reminds me. Third question. Why do you think
Yes.
yeah. Why do you think OG Ultimate was so influential?
Um, man. I mean, I think part of the reason was it was kind of the perfect time. Um, a new millennium, obviously. There's just a lot of hype over that even happening. Um, but also, at least especially in the case of Spider-Man, the late 90s were so rough. I mean, almost if you ask almost anyone, they will have no nostalgia or even notes really about the late 90s other than how it pertains to the creation of Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, I think the only thing that people can really even talk about from that late era is Spider-Man Chapter 1 and how it was not great. Um, I think between Ultimate Spider-Man and the DeMatteis stuff, that really kind of ushered in that new era. And I think I think that's a big part of it. I think another big part of it, honestly, does kind of loop back around to X-Men, like Bryan Singer's X-Men, and just how that wave of very slick modern um, superhero hype was kind of setting in. I think it all kind of built on top of itself. Um, what do you think?
I do feel like it also does kind of tie in back with the 90s, where like the 90s was like a mixed bag for Spidey as a character and brand, since, well, even though we had like the really great 94 show, we had the introduction of Venom and that whole stuff with the symbiotes, and even the Tom McFarlane era was kind of closing around this time. We did get infamous stuff like Clone Saga, and like you mentioned, Spider-Man Chapter 1 was meant to be like a reboot,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out.
Not not even in the slightest. When they prioritized the storytelling elements of oh well, we need to explain why Sandman and Norman's hair looks so similar instead of like literally anything more important than that. Uh, I think they were creatively bankrupt from the start.
Which, which speaking of creatively bankrupt, Marvel was literally going in bankruptcy too in the 90s. So
Yeah,
they were
having to sell all the rights.
like Spider-Man was supposed to get a movie by James Cameron, and that became a legal nightmare too for everyone.
Yeah,
And eventually, when Sony got the rights, they were gonna like work on the movie. While that was in development, uh, like you mentioned, they decided to make X-Men around the same time for the 2000s, and I don't remember which comic, but there's like one specific comic, and that's when they had the announcement of like Ultimate Spider-Man, like the first issue was coming out
yeah,
as like a teaser, like, hey, so this is gonna be our reboot, kind
yeah. But
of,
it's gonna be over there, so all you 616 fans will still have your main line. But for new stuff, for picking up new readers, this is gonna be over here.
and they did it because apparently they wanted to like reboot, start fresh, start small, to not have like the complicated lore from like 60s to
Yeah.
then
Well, because
90.
616 just refuses to do any type of crisis event or like actual reboot of their universe. It's like, no, for all of our 80-year-old fans who remember reading it in the 60s, we gotta make sure that we still, keep all that canon. Otherwise, they'll hate us. Even though I disagree with the notion.
DC's kind of infamous for that too, but the difference is like they retcon it to reboot completely, and then they're like, oh yeah, so some ideas still is canon.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's just like any hard points that make sense to keep as a part of the character's core narrative stay. Like, well, Superman's always still going to come from a destroyed Krypton. Batman's parents are always still going to get murdered. Like, a lot of the essentials stay the same, but it's the details therein that change.
Yeah,
And Marvel, I think, could stand to do that with their universe.
true. And OG Ultimate is kind of like an example of how they could do that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't do what the OG Ultimates did, or Ultimate X-Men. Oh my god, they made Wolverine a pedophile. Why'd they do that?
And they mentioned that in the Bendis run of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, they make it a thing in Ultimate Spider-Man, too. He's just
No!
got a thing for underage redheads. Come on, Logan.
It's like, Logan, what are you doing?
Get your act together, man.
But that
Ugh.
is, but that aside, I feel like it was like a really good time when they decided to release this because, like, as I mentioned earlier, Marvel was going bankrupt, and then this actually helped them financially alongside like Blade coming out and X-Men 2000 coming out. And eventually, due to the success of Ultimate, we got indirectly the Raimi movies,
Mhm.
and Ultimate was like the main face of like the toys in the early 2000s for Spider-Man as well,
Yeah, he
which
was fresh. He was new. He was today's Spider-Man.
he was like everywhere. Like you see the Ultimate artwork everywhere. Bagley's, and then the I forgot the other artists, but you know, like
Um, well, are you talking about just the merch artist, or are you talking about other Ultimate artists?
uh like
Because
there was like a merch artist
you're
specifically,
you're thinking Scott Johnson.
Scott Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot a lot of art for any Marvel thing. Really, it was not just Spider-Man. He was the Marvel guy for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, also I guess just another thing with its influence. Uh, it was in issue 1. Everybody needs a new issue 1 to hop on. If it's a big number, nobody's gonna want to look at it. And since it was a new universe, it wasn't like they were gonna shift back to the legacy numbering at all. It was just gonna keep going from that issue 1. It was the perfect hopping on point for a whole era of new fans. And so I think it just became as influential as it did because a lot of people read it.
Yeah, and then that iconic cover.
Yeah, the swinging in Times Square.
Like that iconic cover has been recreated so many times because that's how influential it was.
Yeah, it's up there in terms of cover homages with Amazing Fantasy 15 and what is it? Is it issue Amazing Spider-Man 300, the Todd McFarlane one?
Yeah, that one, and then also the Superman crossover.
Yeah, that had an interesting amount of homages. It just they reiterated that cover in a surprising amount for what it was.
Even Marvel Zombies, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, but I mean, phew, zombies is a whole can of worms in general.
All right.
Yeah,
Uh, I guess we go to the Ultimate game, the 2005
yeah.
one. So, question 4, probably a little too obvious, but have you ever played Ultimate Spider-Man?
So crazy thing, I had not until earlier last month. My friend for my birthday, I have a late November birthday, gifted me the like collector's edition, that comes with the mini sized issue of like the debut of Venom.
Mm.
And I'm currently only about halfway through the game. Some of the mission instructions are a little vague, so it's a little hard sometimes to know what I'm supposed to do next. Um, but other than that, uh, yeah, I have indeed played it. Um, I don't really think I have like favorite music yet, other than I guess just like the title screen. Um,
Oh,
oh god, no, you know what? There is one. I don't know the name of the song, but it's a lot heavier on like an actual melody rather than just like crazy tech noises. Um, it's god, it's like some orchestral music. It's been used to death in a bunch of people's YouTube videos, but for good reason.
is it the one that they used in the race with Human Torch?
Oh, god, I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look again, but um, I wish I could have a specific answer for this. Uh, it's one of the most actual like melody heavy or like melody forward songs in the game, rather than its general just kind of noisiness that it has for a lot of its soundtrack.
And any particular boss that you like?
Well, the only one that I've played so far that I was like super keen on, even though it was really easy, because it was an early game boss, just the concept of Wolverine fighting Venom in a bar was just really cool. I was really about the idea of that. Um, so I guess that would have to be my answer.
Uh, for for me, I played it back in 2000, I think 2006 or 2000, like late 2005, because I played it on a modded Xbox, like OG Xbox. So I had like Spider-Man 2, and then I had Ultimate underneath, and I didn't get to beat it till because I got to play it, but I didn't get to fully beat it by myself until like 2014, I think, 2015.
Man.
So it was like, wow, it took a while, but let's just say Ultimate Spider-Man, Halo 1, and Halo 2 were like the three games I played the most on that OG Xbox.
I can see that.
As for favorite song, it would be it's actually one of the tech-based ones. I know you don't like the tech-based ones, but
I mean, they're fine.
they're fine. They're fine. Because they have names. Like someone was able to post them online, like OST, and it's one of the swinging ones for sure. Like one of the swinging ones. There's like a guitar that goes like dun 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 dun, dun something like that. And as for like orchestra music, it's like the main theme. And as for favorite oh, because I was gonna mention a boss fight. That's kind of spoiler ish, so I can't really get into it.
Mm. I mean, I'm alright with it.
Okay, so at some point you fight Carnage in the game.
Oh yeah, no, I know. It's you play as Venom fighting Carnage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar. Also, I did find the name of the track that I like. It's Spidey Sky Chase.
Oh yeah.
Very,
So
it's very orchestral forward.
for me,
Um, go ahead.
the track was mentioning, I think it was called Open City 2 or 3
Let's see, Open City 2. Oh, it's probably this one.
because it does have like a lot of drums and
Yeah, it's got a pretty fast percussion going. Yep,
yeah,
it's probably 2.
it's
Yeah.
probably 2. But yeah, like uh pretty fun. I this came out at a really bad the game came out at a really bad time because Marvel Nemesis came out at the same time.
Oh, jeez.
So
Oh, yeah.
Ultimate didn't get like I mean it did well, but it could have done much better if Nemesis didn't came out.
Yeah, I bet. I'm willing to bet that is what it hinged on.
And it's quite a shame because like Ultimate had like a the art style looked like the comic. You had like a really great soundtrack. A really good voice cast too, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, I it's it isn't my favorite voice for Peter, but it is up there. My favorite Ultimate Spider-Man voice isn't an official one. Um, but I do enjoy that voice quite a bit still.
Yeah, and apparently we were this close to getting a sequel, and in the sequel we would have played like Green Goblin, and there was gonna be like a winter setting, but then
Oh,
they scrapped it. I'm like, oh,
I did not know that. I'm a little bummed.
we did get like a we did get another Ultimate game called Battle for New York, where you do get to play it with Green Goblin, and it's supposedly a prequel to the 2005 game, but it doesn't add up, and I heard it wasn't that great because it was only exclusively for the DS.
It up right now. Oh, looks like it was also on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, and Game Boy. I didn't even I forgot about the Game Boy release for that game.
Oh yeah. Also, stylistically, this does not look like Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah,
At least
that's
not on the box.
yeah.
Yeah, no, not a great spiritual successor by any means.
They definitely fumbled by canceling the sequel and opting for this DS Game Boy game.
Yeah, and then after that we got what Friend or Foe was the next like not explicitly live action game.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is still pretty Raimi dependent anyway.
kind of. Yeah. Which that reminds me. Question 5. Did you know that there's like a Ultimate Universe in the Activision games? Like that era has like a Ultimate Universe art like lore.
Are we talking oh god. So the Activision games would have been we're talking like Shattered Dimensions and stuff?
Like up to Edge of Time.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, cuz in Shattered Dimensions you play as Ultimate Spidey for some levels. The black suit one isn't that is supposed to be 1610 Spidey, ain't it? I mean, like, it's whatever other universe number designation, but heavily based on 16 Spidey.
Yeah, it is. And apparently that version of Ultimate is actually canon to the 2005 game as well.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that it was. I didn't know that those were connected. I guess.
I mean, it's kind of weird because, like, I guess you could say it's kind of loose canon, but it is technically canon since Peter in Shattered Dimensions is older than the 2005 game because 2005 is like when he started, and then in Shattered Dimensions is he's like much older, a little bit more experience,
Did
and
did Keaton voice him?
he did actually.
Okay. I was gonna say I feel like I have vague memory of Josh Keaton technically being one of the voices for Ultimate Spider-Man.
He was for that game Shattered Dimensions. He voiced Ultimate, and the reason why the connection with the 2005 game is because you hear him say like the black suit, not this again, kind of implying
Right.
that.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
And this, and what's kind of cool is that one of the unlockable costumes for Edge of Time is the Miles costume. And in the description, they mention how uh, the Peter that you see in Shattered Dimensions eventually passed away, and well, you get Miles like in the main 1610 universe, and that
Right.
costume ends up at the Edge of Time Peter universe, which is kind of interesting. He's like, wait, I never wore this costume, and it's because it was Miles and the whole stuff with Edge of Time, with the whole reality time warping stuff ended up affecting it, and that's why the suit showed up apparently.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. There's some stuff that I did not know prior to today. And I think so. I'm some fucking aficionado on Spider-Man, but turns out I am not even close.
So yeah, technically there's like a trilogy. There's an Ultimate Spider-Man trilogy with the beginning being 2005, the second entry being Shattered Dimensions, and then the conclusion for that arc being in Edge of Time,
Huh.
which is it's not even fully stated, but it's like in the something in the background, and they just like, yeah, here you go.
I do like that it's not like obnoxiously overstated.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't find out about this until like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that not a ton of people know that
There's
because I don't
also,
really see it talked about.
yeah, it's like really obscure, like a really obscure Spider-Man thing, and I'm like, that's crazy, especially given how like popular those games are.
Hmm.
Now for the next question. So, you know how Gameloft has like a bunch of Spidey have made like a bunch of games, but do you know that the first game that they did for Spider-Man was like an Ultimate game, like Ultimate Spidey game?
I had known that or that Gameloft. I the only Gameloft Spider-Man games I'm aware of are the mobile ones. Is this also a mobile one or no?
It is a mobile one, yes.
Okay, I didn't know about any Ultimate mobile game.
So apparently there was like an Ultimate mobile game back in like 2010, 2011, and it was called Ultimate Spider-Man Total Mayhem. And it's quite interesting because it's like a third person game where like you could like you have like multiple stages, multiple boss fights, and like an actual swinging mechanic too.
Oh, these buttons sure look interesting.
Those buttons were weird though. That's not one thing I heard about, but it's really interesting because it's it existed and it even implemented stuff from OG 616. It's like that's strange, but I guess it's okay because it's a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. As long as it works as its own title.
Yeah, and apparently the stuff that they used for this game, they like eventually implemented into Spider-Man Unlimited, which is like the most well-known
Right.
mobile game they did.
Yeah, Unlimited is pretty much the only one I really remember. Did they handle the Amazing games?
Uh, I don't remember. I think they only handled two.
Okay.
So I don't
I
remember if
actually
they.
remember kind of liking two.
I didn't like it at first, but then I heard word of mouth, and when I wanted to play it, they got rid of it.
Oh, I know that I'm pretty sure I remember the swinging actually being pretty good in that game.
I remember hearing that that's the first game Yuri Lowenthal voiced Spidey like ever.
Oh, really? It was in a movie adaptation game.
Yeah,
Weird.
so he voiced it only in like the main console version of Ultimate's. Not Ultimate. I mean, TASM 2 was like the guy who voiced Donnie or Leo in the TMNT 2003 show, and then Yuri voiced them in well the mobile version of TASM 2.
Right. Interesting.
And then
And now we've had Yuri Lowenthal ever since. Oh yeah.
I love Yuri though.
I like him.
Yeah,
I just think anytime that one voice actor plays a character too long, I get a little fatigued is all. I think we're hitting the end of Yuri's era as Spidey.
I could kind of see it, but it's fine. It's fine because
Yeah, I mean it's not the end of the world. He's still doing a good job.
yeah,
He's a talented voice actor.
he is him and Josh Keaton.
I have a Keaton bias, so
I love Keaton.
I will never not like Josh Keaton as Spider-Man.
Keaton's really great. I love him.
I think he has the most balanced performance.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
And it might just be because Yuri's in a lot of like lighter tone spin-off stuff where Spidey's just one of many characters, but I've always felt like his Spidey has leaned a little too much on the happy-go-lucky side, and he only really gets to flex the emotional scenes in the two Insomniac games.
Yeah,
But whereas, I mean, I think Keaton has gotten plenty of time to do all, kind of the whole 9 yards,
yeah,
emotionally speaking.
that's true. And then, well, he technically voiced the iconic Spectacular. Well, not
Of
technically.
course.
I mean, I was gonna say technically, but technically Spectacular is Ultimate. But we'll get to that in a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, yeah, we can definitely do that in a bit.
All right. So okay. This next. Oh my god. Okay. This next. Oh my. My voice is breaking. What the heck? Okay. This
Editing.
next section is going to be about Hickman's Ultimate run. So, uh, you told me earlier that you're like in the halfway of the. You like finished the first arc, which is like issues 1 to 6, 7 ish.
Yeah, I only got to the point where Mary Jane kind of gives him the name of Spider-Man. I haven't been keeping up since, not for any particular reason. I just been reading other stuff and life's just been getting in the way. Um, so I haven't been. I'm not fully up to date yet.
Mm. So this next question is about the run and What are your thoughts on the run so far?
Um, all right. I think, I think it's solid. I think it's real good. But I do think it is maybe already one of the most overrated Spider-Man things currently coming out. And I think it's just because we're so starved for decent Spider-Man content nowadays. Um, outside of like the Spider-Verse movies. Um, because everybody is talking about it like it's the second coming of Christ, and it's just a pretty solid story. Um, but I do still like it. I do think also it does have kind of a pacing issue, at least from what I've read. I think that first arc was really slow.
Mm,
And yet it was claiming that it was happening over multiple months, and I did not get that feeling at all. To me, it felt like it was happening over like 3 days.
mm,
But that might just be me. Um, I feel like I have talked to a couple of people about it. Um, being a little slow.
ah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's a really good run. It does, like you mentioned, it does have some pacing issues, but I feel it's kind of intentional because it's like to build stuff up in a way. Um, but a lot of the stuff that they were like kind of building up, it pays off with the second arc that's going on right now, which is like issue 7 to I believe 13 as of the time of this recording. And it's pretty good. I really like the whole relationship between Peter and his family. Uh, the twist with the entire lore of like how he got the powers as an adult instead of as a teenager. Ben being alive instead of May. Uh, Jonah just leaving Daily Bugle to be independent. There's like a lot of stuff that's kind of unique that we haven't seen, but also there's been a lot of familiar stuff that's kind of welcoming as well. Only issue I do have is like we don't see the other Sinister Six members yet. We do see one of them like in one of the issues, and I think this upcoming issue we're gonna see the second member, the third member. I'm sorry, we're gonna see like a third member of Sinister Six like fight with uh Peter and Harry. But yeah, I think it's a really good run. It came out at a really good time, especially with how 616 is fumbling the mainline Spidey really bad to the point that even other comics like treat him better than the main comics.
Yeah, I think pretty much every conversation that can be had about 616 current Spidey has kind of already been had. Um yeah, it ain't great. Uh everybody kind of knows. I just I am kind of the opinion that 6160 isn't that much better than just the most solid of the regular 616 stuff that has come out before. Like I don't think it tops like the JM DeMatteis run. I don't think it tops God, and even the Lee and like Ramita stuff, or the J. Michael Straczynski stuff.
Mm.
Oh, I said DeMatteis way earlier, and I meant the Straczynski run. Um,
Oh, Straczynski, that's a good run.
yeah, I was talking Straczynski. My bad. But I mean, the DeMatteis stuff is also very solid. The stuff in like Spectacular, um, like Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider. But I was talking the ASM like turn of the century stuff with like Ramita Jr. and whatnot.
Mm.
Um, but gosh, words are failing me. Um, but yeah, I do think a lot of the shakeups that they've done are pretty great. I some of them are setting up, I think, really predictable twists. like Harry is so obviously going to become an evil version of the Goblin. Um, we all know what's going to happen. It's just more of a.
When
It's
it's
the
gonna happen?
what's the term? It's like the bomb under the table,
Oh,
or,
the
or is it bomb under the chair?
Shekop's gun situation.
Sort of. Yeah, it's the dramatic irony of we know something bad is about to happen because we're privy to it. It's like a dramatic irony situation. But it's specifically, I think it's a bomb under a chair, and it's two characters having a conversation at a table, and one of them we see does have that, and so the audience is just waiting for it to explode.
Hmm.
And this is kind of that situation where we know that Harry's gonna, you know, we know Harry's gonna turn. We just don't know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But we know it's bound to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, when's he gonna turn to the evil Green Goblin we know? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of curious
Yeah,
when.
hasn't yet.
Kind of
But at least from what
curious.
I hear.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm not.
you're good. You're good. But yeah, speaking of characters, which is your favorite character in the run, and which is your favorite character design so far?
I think design probably has to be Goblin just because it feels the most like unique. Um, Spider-Man just kind of ironically, I think what they did with this Ultimate Spider-Man was okay. With the old one, we made his eyes bigger and we made the logo, really do the kind of legs up, legs down thing. So now with this one, we're instead of making his eyes bigger, we'll just make his eyes smaller, and we'll make his logo have the all downward facing legs, like a different type of traditional logo, which it feels even lazier in a way than the original Ultimate Spider-Man design did. I think it plays it too safe.
Hmm.
I think at this point we've had so many Spider-Man costumes that you need to take a bigger swing.
Hmm.
Although the Iron Spider that Otto showed off would have been pretty interesting. Um,
Hmm.
but I think the Goblin looks good. Um, I like the helmet design a lot. The lack of mouth is cool. Um, Otherwise, I have seen covers of how Felicia looks, and she looks pretty great. I'm pretty into her. I guess in terms of writing, uh, probably it's probably a tie between Ben and Jonah.
Hmm. For me, character wise, definitely Ben or Jonah. Uh, that their dynamic is really great. Uh, I really like how they're like both figuring out what's going on with the situations, but also the scene. Wait, I'm not sure if you read this scene. So yeah, but there's like a scene where like where Harry shows up as the Green Goblin into like where they have the paper, which is like their new website thing, and he's like, "So who's talking to you?" And then you just see like Ben give Jonah like $5 because apparently they're like betting like something's gonna happen. So like if something happens, like you owe me this.
Okay, yeah.
And Harry's like, What's going on?" And it's like, "Oh, it's because we bet it. Like if something like this was gonna happen, like we bet if this happened, he owes me five, and if this happened, I owe him five." And it's funny because like that entire scene, like it's still tense, but them like giving each other cash is like the funny part because it's like, oh, um,
Was it them betting on which of the two of those guys was gonna show up to the paper first?
it was partially that scene, but also like what Harry was gonna say, and he's like, "Oh, he say
That's
this. Here you go."
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
And don't they I might not know the scene as well as I think I do because I think I've seen the scene. They knew, like they figured out who the goblin was on their own. Like they just deduced it before he even showed up, right?
pretty much.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I remember reading that they like just talked to him straight up, as if they already knew who he was.
Yeah. And as for favorite design, like you mentioned earlier, the Iron Spider design looks like really cool.
Yeah,
It and we know that Doc Ock is in this, but he's not Doc Ock yet.
right.
So
Which is going to be interesting setup.
there's a possibility that the Iron Spider might belong to him, or he might become Doc Ock and use that suit. But at the same time, we don't know yet because everything is possible in this new run.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is they say that, but everything else feels relatively tame. So I have yet to see them make a big swing that really shocks me and makes me feel like, wow, they really could do anything. I think the biggest swing so far that they take is how they write Harry into this universe. But even then, I still think I know where it's going.
But
I need them to do something really surprising.
issue, I think issue 12 is something that's gonna surprise you.
Okay.
Once you get into it. But yeah, it's like this second half is starting to get like stakes are starting to kind of slowly get bigger. So I'm kind of curious what. Oh, that's for next question. But okay, but yeah, for favorite character design, Iron Spider. Uh, I really like. Well, since I mentioned Doc Ock, I really like how Doc Ock looks too with the goggles.
Hmm.
Black Cat's design is really neat. It's pretty cool, and I feel like we're gonna see like a lot of Black Cat cosplayers based on this upcoming, well, this new design of hers.
Oh, probably. I mean, it's not the most crazy design, but
Or
the thing that I think sells it is more so how she's drawn.
yeah,
The way that oh god, Chichetto, that's right. That's the person's name, the artist.
yeah, Shishido.
Chichetto. Yeah, the way that he draws her hair with like the really fun kind of almost crayon like squiggly lines. It adds a lot to the design.
It's a simple design, but it really works well for the character in this art style.
Yeah, definitely.
And one design I really like as well is one of the Sinister Six members, and I really love the Mysterio design we got.
Oh god, I'd have to double check what he looks like. Um, it's definitely I know that I've seen it, but because I saw kind of the group shot. But oh yeah, no, he looks great.
And it's interesting because it's like a modern take off a 90s design that he had for a little bit. Like for a little bit he had a design similar to that. I
Hmm.
don't remember which comic run, but he also had like the straps and everything, and he had like a glowing face instead of a dome. But here you have like the dome, and it's more simplified, but it looks really good.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty Halloween esque.
For next question, what are some predictions you have for the future of the story in the Grand 6160 universe?
Um. Oh, real quick. Sorry, I real quick. Last backtrack on that previous
Oh yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah.
I forgot all about Craven. I really like Craven's design.
Oh, that Craven design's pretty great.
Reminds me of the villain in Open Season. But but like if that guy was way cooler.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very good look.
It
Um,
is.
but yeah, as for predictions, I think I mean one, I think it's pretty safe to say that the maker is going to be doing something with that 1610 symbiote that he's got tucked away. Um, he's because they set that up in the Miles run and then they haven't done anything with it yet. Um, but God, I would not be surprised if um there's a further time travel plot that undoes all of the maker's work
Mm.
and restores a lot of the dead characters to being alive. Like I know the rest of the Fantastic Four like all died in horrible freak accident ways. or just straight up suicide. Um,
Mm.
and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that gets done away with further time travel because we know about Tony's whole situation already. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are other characters that manage to travel even further back and like fix the root of the problem rather than just pick up the pieces. Um,
Yeah, uh,
which would be
mm,
weird because it would kind of it might create a paradox. We'll see.
yeah. For my predictions, I do feel the same thing as well. I do hope we do get to see this universe's Fantastic Four because, as you mentioned, like the main crew died except for Reed Richards, who like becomes this universe's Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
But you see him like recreate the experiments for like what the main four should have been. But we also kind of like get the idea that at some point Tony might become Kang because that was like the reveal twist for Secret Invasion.
Right.
So
And I,
we're not at that point yet, but we might see if that paradox, like you mentioned, would happen.
yeah, maybe whatever they try to do to try and to time travel again and fix things at the root cause ends up causing some type of butterfly effect. That's what makes Tony into Kang,
Yeah,
or
and
I guess not necessarily Kang, but whatever conqueror.
yeah, and it's interesting because they mentioned like a countdown in the Ultimates run.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
something's gonna happen once that time comes.
right. Oh, God, I'm fairly certain we've gotten an answer as to what that event is. I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
I remember hearing two things. One is like a eventual crossover with 1610. The other is like something with the Maker.
I think it's just their actual first fight with the Maker.
Oh,
I think it's when the Ultimates team really fully comes together and all of the other kind of heroes have to stand up and face him. Because I want to say that I want to say because that's right because they've been building up to what was it? Was it July? Was that the month that they keep bringing up?
I think so.
Yeah, because Tony says that they're like we have these many months to prepare for the battle. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Now it could be that the Maker does open up a portal and tries to play both sides or something against each other,
Mm.
but I think it's probably more straightforward than that. It's probably the Maker with the power of the symbiote fighting the the kind of ragtag group of heroes from 6160.
Yeah. And as for the main Ultimate Spider-Man story, I do feel we'll eventually see if Harry becomes the Goblin, like the evil Goblin that we know. And as for Doc Ock, I do think he'll eventually become Doc Ock. But the thing is, will he be a good guy or will he be a villain? And earlier in the run, we did get to see like the suit Peter wears was nanotech before he like switches to a different fabric.
Right, the
And
Ecotech suit.
it's interesting because that Ecotech suit we see black text.
Yeah, no, they're definitely setting up a black suit Venom arc.
I'm quite interested if that becomes Venom and that's our introduction to this universe's Venom.
It probably will be because Marvel cannot help himself with Venom right now. They
I
put him
mean,
in everything.
he's everywhere, but it's cool though. Most of the time.
Mileage varies.
Yeah. All right. Time for some Ultimate trivia. So, there's a few connections for Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man with, as you know, the Raimi trilogy and TASM.
Yeah,
I forgot to add Spectacular, but we'll get to that in a bit. Uh, but did you know that pretty much the plot stuff that we saw in the Raimi movies, specifically the first one, a lot of it was actually based on Ultimate, interestingly.
Yeah, with the spider being an Oscorp spider and Peter actually uh or no, I guess that was its own original edition, Peter being there for Ben's death. Um but Peter fighting with Ben just before his death. A
The
lot
other
of that.
one, we also get Peter and MJ being neighbors, which that was first in Ultimate as well.
Uh is that true? I'm pretty sure. Oh,
Kinda.
I suppose, right, because she was more so just visiting her aunt who was the neighbor before in 616.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, oh god. Didn't even remember that.
And it's quite interesting because like even the when they were like releasing trailers for Raimi, they're like unleash the ultimate spin or something like that was the slogan for the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, man, I and oh, also Harry being friends with Peter
Oh
like
yeah,
back in high school.
yeah, that's right. That's true. And then because Peter and Harry were friends like in college in the main universe, but in 1610 they were like childhood best friends.
Well, they didn't even like each other at first in college.
Yeah, that's true too. Which also reminds me, in Spider-Man 3, Eddie Brock is called Eddie Brock Jr., but in the Ultimate Universe, there's two Eddie Brocks, and Eddie Brock Jr. is the one that becomes Venom.
Right. And yeah, it's definitely kind of the clear parallel there. Um I'm not sure. And we're are we certain that 616 Eddie is not also a junior?
No, as far as we're aware, he's not Junior.
Okay. Then yeah, I guess that's the other another pull from Ultimate.
But what's quite interesting is that when they were doing the black suit for the third Raimi movie, they actually made the suit purple for Venom.
Oh, did they? I definitely in the color grade it looks more black in the final product, but
Apparently,
the actual physical suit
the
was.
actual physical suit was purple because they were gonna use the animatronic as well, but I guess they had complications. They had complications with the animatronic, so they couldn't use it. Like they want.
Just like the goblin.
Yeah, exactly, which is a funny coincidence. But yeah, the suit apparently was purple. He had like a smaller mouth and like the same eyes that we see in the final suit.
I think I've
Because
seen the pictures of that from the behind the scenes.
because even the toys, the symbiote in the Spider-Man 3 toys, there's like multiple versions. There's like one fully black with the gray webbing, one that's just fully black and the black webbing, and then there's one which is like a purple look with lighter slightly lighter webbing, so it kind of looks closer to the comic.
Huh. Where you know?
Yeah, and it does. So the reason why I mentioned connection to TASM, I mean, uh, the new animated series, which is the 2003 show, which is also connected to the Raimi movies, supposedly being like a sequel to the first movie before it got retconned to not being canon.
Yeah, it wasn't originally going to be all this though.
Apparently, it was going to be a Ultimate show.
The concept art for it looks great. I'm bummed that we didn't get that.
I'm really sad about it too, because like we did get like a test footage for that 2003 show when it was gonna still be Ultimate Spider-Man, and it looked good. Like
I don't think I've seen the test footage. I've only seen the concept art, but even just from that, I was really into it.
it was like it was like a few seconds long. It wasn't that long. It was like I think Spidey crawling or web swinging. So it was still like unfinished, but you get to see a little bit of what it was gonna be like. And Yeah, like the concept art, like you mentioned, it was really nice. Quite a strange decision to have Rhino look like his 616 counterpart, even though it was gonna be like an Ultimate show.
I wonder, did no, yeah, Ultimate Rhino had shown up at that point. Um, I assume.
Maybe I'm not sure.
Maybe it didn't because they definitely even in the original comics they make mentions of things as they are in 616 and later it's made very clear that they just don't make any sense because that's just not the direction that they went with certain characters in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, which
Especially with Reed Richards.
yeah, especially Richards, which was kind of funny because the first time they name drop him, they say he was like in his 40s, but then Ultimate Fantastic Four comes out and he's like 20 something.
Yeah, he's like a bit older than Peter.
It's like, huh? They kind of messed up, but it's fine. They'll retcon it. All right. For the second question for our Ultimate Trivia, did you know there was a few connections with the Spider Verse trilogy?
I mean, even just down to the premise of it existing alone, with Miles. Um,
Well, yeah,
but also, yeah, like with their universe being listed as 1610 in that movie canon.
yeah, and we do get to see a little bit of parallels with the 1610 universe, where like they mentioned that Aunt May moved to like Miami, which that does happen in like the Miles run at some point. Uh, Peter being younger and dying at a younger age instead of like even though in the even in the movie he's like 10 years as Spider-Man, in Ultimate he was like just 1 year in.
Yeah, like a year and in a couple months.
Miles being present when Peter dies. Only difference is that Miles did help out a little bit with,
Yeah, instead of just standing to the side.
and Green Goblin being like a giant monster form throwing fireballs is also something that happens in both.
I think there's also something to be said for the level of presence that Kingpin has. Because, I mean, Kingpin's still a big character in 616, but arguably he was Peter's main villain in Ultimate Spider-Man, aside from maybe Norman.
Yeah, that's true. And oh, what else was going on that I was missing with the connections? Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
so
there's a lot to be made.
that's true. Which one? Which was another one that was pretty obvious from the arc that they adapted? Oh yeah, Miles getting into the school was another thing that was also in his run.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that pertains to the origin of Miles that isn't multiverse related is very, very similar. Not identical, but a lot of it's largely the same. There, I honestly probably it's probably a smaller list to point out the differences than the similarities.
That's true. Yeah, and I think they do mention another 1610 Spidey in like across the Spider Verse, but I don't remember because oh, wait, no, yeah, there is like another 1610 universe because I think what's her name? Jessica Drew from 1610 makes a cameo.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like as,
or could just definitely just be like kind of an analog for it.
that too, or it could be like a you know how like Miguel O'Hara mentioned there's like more than one 2099 universe.
Yeah,
So it could
it
be
could
that kind of
exist.
situation.
Definitely, probably is.
Yeah. And since we're like here in Spider Verse, any predictions for Beyond?
My main prediction is that it doesn't come out because of Shamik Moore ruining his reputation online. But aside from Shamik's meltdown, if it does come out, I think that other Miles being a more of like a vigilante, like a streetwise vigilante, is pretty likely. I think that's probably going to be the quote unquote twist. Um, Obviously, Miles is going to prove Miguel wrong about his whole canon event and like you don't belong kind of arguments. I don't think they're going to kill Miguel because I think that's like antithetical to the point of Spider-Man. I think it's going to be that I think Miguel will still stay alive and he'll have a change of heart. The only thing I could maybe see happening is Miguel actually sacrificing himself to take down the Spot.
Mm,
As like a full cap off of his redemption arc, kind of like Harry in Spider-Man 3.
yeah.
Other than that, not much. I don't think Miles and Gwen are gonna fully get together. I don't think they're gonna.
Oh,
I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they'll leave it ambiguous.
especially with Mishimik now.
Yeah, especially with Shamik. Man,
Oh,
if he isn't the main reason, uh,
oh,
God, such a weird situation.
oh man. As for my predictions, in case if this Shamik situation gets worse, um, I think they'll just use the voice actor who voices the vigilante Miles.
Yeah, they could end up just using that voice because honestly, pretty similar voices.
Yeah, and since you mentioned that Miles acting as a vigilante, they did cut a scene from the movie where you see him as Prowler like stealing something from like I think like another criminal and then delivering that to his mom like at a nursing
Right.
hospital.
But who knows if that like test footage is canon anymore?
Yeah, it's probably no longer canon, or if anything, we might wait until we might not ugh, we might not get to see that until Beyond whenever it comes out.
Yeah, until like after Beyond, and it'll be like that Miles short that came out in the like second run of Across.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They'll probably do it. They'll probably run it like that once they do their second theatrical run of Beyond. They'll
Yeah,
probably put it in front of that.
I think that's possible. Oh shit, now I remember. Okay, so in Across, you get to see Ben Riley from 1610, the
Oh
six
God. Well, okay. Which Ben Riley are we talking about?
from the Clone Saga, from like
Like,
Ultimate Clone Saga.
okay. Well, okay. So there are multiple characters in that universe called Ben Riley. Are we talking about the
The
ESU
clone.
lab assistant, or
No, the clone.
which costume did he have?
He had like a black suit, but he had like six arms.
Okay, yeah, the six-armed Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, I do remember. He was on the posters and stuff too.
He was in the Spider Mobile
That's right, he was.
with
Oh
Lego Spider Man.
man. Man, Lego Spidey. I forgot about him being in there. That's my prediction. Sloppy makeout scene between Lego Spider-Man and Miguel O'Hara because he loves that guy.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely does. But it's kind of interesting because apparently there's two of them. The one in the Spidey car is like the Raimi Lego one, and then the other one is
The one that gets like his own whole backstory.
yeah, it's actually hilarious.
So
What? Oh yeah. So my predictions. We Miguel might actually like you mentioned, might sacrifice himself, or he might don the second 2099 suit that you
true.
kind
They
of see in the
did tease
background.
that,
Yeah,
and there was a wasn't there a concept art of him wearing it for certain scenes?
there was.
Yeah, and then that never came to be in that movie at least.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious if it's gonna be like an armor version or whatever.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like space safe or something.
Yeah,
Because who even knows what type of environment we're going to be dealing with Spot growing in power?
yeah. I'm kind of curious what they'll do with Spot because if he's gonna be like super powerful or whatever, because he has like his teleportation powers and like kind
Well,
of
and he
curious.
he gets more powerful as a cross goes on, so I can only imagine where he's going to be at and beyond.
I feel like Beyond's gonna be really his peak, most dangerous self.
Yeah, I just don't. I just mean I don't know where the like what strength level we're going to be talking about at that point.
Is he gonna be like an Avengers level threat, like Mysterio said?
Yeah, he's going to be like a planet buster or galaxy buster. Like who even knows?
I do have a prediction that because I know they say his canon event is his dad dying, but I feel there's a possibility his mom is the one that dies.
I think it's going to be a mom death because one, they're faking it out. Two, they really have been building up Rio in specifically across the Spider Verse. Um, and three, that Venom death in 1610.
Oh yeah, that's true. That also happened in 1610. Uh, so it's kind of interesting where we'll see which direction they'll take. So, and I also do think, like you mentioned, I feel like he might not get with Gwen, but there's still a possibility because there's like two universes where, well, not two universes, but I think in canon they do end up together, but it's like a weird situation where they're like, yeah, they're together, but it's hard for them to be together because they're like two separate universes, so they can't be together all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
I
kind of, oh,
go ahead.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious what they'll do with that arc and how they'll wrap it up.
Definitely, I am still see. I'm every Spider-Man fan's least favorite Spider-Man fan because I'm not really into most of the things that they've been doing popularly in modern media with the character. Like, I don't really care for Superior Spider-Man beyond its initial comic run. The symbiotes just never really do it for me.
Yeah.
Um, I think Venom and Carnage are kind of the only ones that I can really accept, and even then, it's like tenuous at best. And maybe my least favorite thing is the Spider Verse because I like Spider Man as the grounded everyman superhero, and now he's the multiverse sci fi superhero, and that's just not really my thing. So if they can wrap up this trilogy and I do want them to wrap it up properly and like have a satisfying ending. But if it can kind of close out Marvel's current obsession with the multiverse, at least as it pertains to Spider Man, that would be ideal for me.
Oh, same here. Cause I love Spider Verse, but I really hate how Sony is treating the IP outside of the trilogy,
Yeah,
and
it's just a bit much.
yeah, it's a bit much. And which other thing was it? I'm mad that they fired Lord and Miller as like the main head of the Marvel movies for Sony.
Yeah, that was ridiculous of them to do that.
Especially how like uh they're like we're gonna continue doing more spin-offs for Beyond,
And they
and
just did not do that.
their whole reason why it didn't work out is because Silk got canceled because they didn't know
Right.
what was going on there, and then Spider Noir, which is still gonna come out, and it's it's loosely connected to Spider Verse.
Right. Since it's still Nick Cage.
Because it's still Nick Cage, so that's canon, but it's Ben Riley instead of Peter, which is fine, I guess. I did want to see a Ben Riley adaptation, so it's an interesting take of mixing both.
Yeah. Well,
But
finding out that they didn't have to actually not use Peter Parker and they could have been doing it this whole time
it's
really sheds how disappointing really sheds a light on how disappointing this universe is.
yeah. But oh yeah, I forgot my final prediction for Beyond is maybe we'll get to see the live action Spider people show up as a,
Maybe.
as a
I hope that
cameo.
it's not like a yeah. I hope it's just a cameo. I hope it's not this big moment. And unfortunately, knowing Sony, I think they are going to try to make it this big moment.
Because I remember Tom Holland said he recorded a line for Into the Spider Verse, but didn't make it into the thing.
Interesting.
And since I mentioned live action Spidey, do you have any hope that we'll see a live action or MCU Miles?
If we ever get an MCU Miles, I hope that Peter is dead at that point because I don't really like the mentor mentee thing they're trying to do with those two personally. I like when it's a mantle that Miles has to kind of get thrown in the deep end on and learn how to do it his way from the start. Um, I'm not a huge fan of this current era. It's part of the reason why I actually do really like 1610 Miles is that that kind of like initiative on his part of having to take up the call. Um, but if we do see an MCU Miles, I think that could be pretty cool. Plus, then they'd let Tom Holland finally do something different with his career. Um, and my only worry is I don't know how they're gonna make him stand out because you have the Spider Verse version that's pretty unique, but the problem is with movie version, with like the live action MCU version, is they kind of wrote MCU Peter Parker as Miles Morales.
That's
He
true,
kind of
because
has all of Miles's unique traits.
and also his cast, because Ned Leeds is more like Genki.
Right, and he had well at least he had. I guess there's another thing though. He was killed by a popular Spider-Man villain. His young, active in his life mother figure. He's taking up. He's trying to kind of be under the wing of a larger superhero who dies and leaves him with kind of a call to action. He goes to a privileged tech school, um, and he's kind of thrust into a lot of drama with Shield and like looked after by them.
Oh
It's
yeah, that's
very very much Miles, even down to
yeah.
the way he speaks. He's not nearly as like kind of angsty and smarmy as Peter Parker is. He's a kind of that more like just in over his head, like fish out of water, kind of lighthearted Spider-Man like Miles was.
And I remember in a video, but it's kind of ironic how they made MCU Peter more like Miles, but they made Spider Verse Miles more like Peter.
In some ways, but I think he is very much his own new character for the most part. I think, to its credit, I think that's actually the best thing that the Spider Verse movies did was make Miles even more unique than he already was.
Yeah,
Um, it really made it very clear that anyone can be Spider Man, not just people that are somewhat similar to Peter Parker.
true.
Um, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do, or if they ever do a live action Miles.
I feel we'll eventually get him because Tom Holland has said that he does want to like move on to other stuff and eventually have a family.
Yeah,
So I do feel like we'll probably get Miles set up in this upcoming Spidey movie with Tom Holland whenever that comes out.
yeah. Well, they'll
And
remember to reset it back up because they seem to have forgotten their setup from uh Homecoming.
yeah,
They've forgotten every setup they ever did in Homecoming.
I hope they wrap up the setups so we could finally get a really fantastic trilogy and potential conclusion to
I'd like
all
to
of
see
them.
Scorpion in live action for once.
They scrapped them from the recent rewrites.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
And Shocker too. I'm like, no.
Yeah, they hate actual Spider-Man content. They just want cash cow multiverse crap.
And Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was supposed to be the prequel that ties it all, but then they reworked it and now it's its own thing.
I have like a negative amount of hype for that show.
I'm a little sad because I remember they promised the 2D art style and now it's more like a 2.5D, which it's okay, but we'll
It's
see.
it's worse looking than X-Men 97 by a long shot, and yet it doesn't even have the confidence to just be 3D at that point.
At least X-Men 97 was 2D and the occasional 3D, but
Yeah,
oh
it
well.
used 3D for assistance. It wasn't just 3D.
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully, here's hoping that's actually a good show because I don't know. It it still has potential. We'll just have to wait and see. And now as for the final Ultimate trivia, uh, the Lost Ultimate adaptations, quote unquote, uh,
Yeah.
which is Disney XD's Ultimate Spider-Man and well, the TASM which is TASM 1 and 2. Um, Ultimate Spider-Man, that breaks my heart because apparently at some point they were gonna fully adapt it like one by one, but then we got what we got.
Ugh, and it's one of the TV shows of all time.
Like the art style isn't that bad, at least for season one, but
I just think it's really bland. Like it doesn't stick out, you know?
and then they steal stuff from 616 more, and I'm like, that's not Ultimate.
Yeah, at that point you're just well, and then they tried to like make the term Ultimate Spider-Man like a thing in canon,
Uh,
which was even worse. It's like I don't need a justification for you naming it that. That's just the name of the show.
and then it aged poorly because of
Yeah.
Drake Bell.
Yeah. Not that his performance was even really that good to begin with.
Yeah, and it's a shame too because apparently they were gonna have Josh Keaton come back
Yeah.
for Earth Mightiest Heroes because apparently,
Even one of the lines is still in there.
yeah, and apparently that was supposed to lead to Ultimate, but they decided to reboot the entire uh TV project side of things,
Yeah, the Yost verse.
and we got Ultimate instead, and
Very disappointing.
in
That whole
in
era of Marvel TV is very bland.
I feel like in another lifetime we probably would have gotten Josh Keaton in Earth Mightiest Heroes, and we probably would have gotten either season 3 of Spectacular, which
Ugh.
that's actually closer to Ultimate if you think about it,
It
surprisingly.
absolutely is. I think that well, there are some characters that are a little more similar still in USM to like actual Ultimate. Like
Yeah,
Mary Jane, I think is still actually closer to her 1610 counterpart in the Ultimate TV show.
yeah,
Um, I don't think Peter is at all.
he's
Peter
not.
Peter is like PG Deadpool, which I mean, hey, that show also had PG Deadpool. Um,
It's just one of the best episodes.
instead of blatantly racist Deadpool from the Ultimate Comics, which was rough. Um, to be fair, I'm also not the hugest Deadpool fan, so I wasn't mourning any losses there. I think the guy's all right. I like the Joe Kelly stuff, but
Yeah,
but yeah, man, I Ultimate or not Ultimate Spectacular really did kind of have a lot of really good influences from Ultimate, like the Venom backstory and a lot of those characters being friends since high school. Um, it's just it all really felt like a good blend of the original Ditko stuff and the Ultimate stuff.
yeah,
Kind of like the Raimi movies, honestly.
yeah. A little sad that we didn't get the season 3 and the planned trilogy that they wanted, but
Yeah, the movies
I'm glad we got to see our boy again in
in this.
Across.
Yeah, it was nice to see him. I inherently disagree with whose side he ended up on, but
Do you think he'll probably join the other side?
I don't think they'll make a big thing of it. He's still a side character, to be honest. But if they'd have made him a more prominent character, I think they would show that. I'm sure all of the Spider people are gonna shift to Miles's side.
Because I know Yuri definitely would have went to uh the Yuri Spidey who makes a cameo as one across would have definitely joined Miles' side.
Yeah, 100%. They're all just still kind of drinking the Kool Aid right now.
Most likely.
They gotta they gotta get that kind of more blatant wake up call that Miguel's way is objectively wrong.
Yeah. But since you mentioned Ultimate Deadpool earlier, I forgot to mention, but apparently that was Nolan North's second time voicing as the character of Deadpool.
Yeah, that was in Oh, you're talking the Ultimate Show.
No, I mean like,
Oh
oh my
yeah,
bad.
you're talking about
So
it in Shattered Dimensions, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I did like his appearance in that, because it wasn't as, you know, like that as in the 1610 comics.
yeah, and apparently it was considered canon because in the Marvel wiki for Ultimate Deadpool, they mention Shattered Dimensions as canon,
Interesting.
or at least that part of Deadpool, because like I mentioned earlier, the Ultimate side of that era of Activision is kind of like its own thing.
Right.
But I guess it could work for Deadpool given where he ended up last time in the comics and
Hmm.
before Deadpool kills Deadpool.
I forgot about Deadpool kills Deadpool.
It's insane. Oh yeah, and the other quote unquote lost Ultimate adaptation, the Tassinverse.
Yeah. Oof, what a loss.
um, the parallels to Ultimate's definitely there with the origin, the connection to Oscorp. Even Venom was meant to be more like Ultimate because he made like a cameo in a commercial for TASM 2 before they replaced him with Rhino.
Right. Forgot about that.
Like the
Which is
suit.
it's crazy that they were already gonna go back to Venom that quickly in the movies after Spider-Man 3.
And it's weird too because Gwen Stacy is more like Ultimate MJ because she also made the suit, and Ultimate MJ was like the one who helped out making the suit for Peter a few times.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
MJ
like
was,
a lot.
yeah, yeah. And MJ was supposed to show up in TASM 2, but her scenes got cut. Shailene Woodley was supposed to play her, and that's a shame because
Yeah, the pictures that we saw looked pretty great.
there's some video footage, but that was like from Scoopers and not official.
Right.
But it also did the same mistake where it's like, let's mix in elements from 616, and that's why we got the weird Green Goblin that we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as for Rhino, what do you think about him? Because I do like his robot design, and I feel like a lot of people don't like that design.
I think he's fine. He's a relatively footnote character in those movies. So I'm not too like pressed. If he was the main villain, I'd have more problems.
Mm. And apparently Electro was meant to be yellow too, but they went with the weird blue,
Well, that's another ultimate influence.
which is true. Ultimate influence is right there. But the suit they gave him apparently is the one he wears when he has the yellow light, the yellow electricity instead of the blue.
Hmm.
So it's like a weird decision they switched it up to blue for that moment. Um,
Well, it's better than him being naked in blue like an ultimate.
oh, for sure, that's really fucking weird. It's like,
Yeah.
are you Iceman or are you Electro? Whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really sad that Tassenber's like died because Sony and the mishandling of the series. It's
Yeah.
really,
They were trying to rush too many things about that universe.
I mean, it's kind of nice seeing Andrew return for like No Way Home.
Hmm.
So we at least we kind of have a like a follow up to it, but
Yeah, even if the MJ rescue scene was incredibly heavy-handed storytelling. Everybody's like, "Wow, he finally did it." And it's like, "Yeah, cuz that was the most cheesy and obvious way to give him a character arc."
that's true. But it's fine.
It worked.
It
General
worked.
audiences ate it up, so it did its job.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious because apparently they were gonna do the Clone Saga, and we don't know if it was gonna be like 616 or like 1610.
I hope it would have pulled more from 1610 cuz that is a better a better one.
I feel like they probably would have because they say they wanted to do Spider Gwen for that universe, and the only way that could work is well, they do the 1610 version of that arc, but instead of Jessica Drew, it would have been her. I think we don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
I mean, there's still a very slight chance of hope because
I wouldn't. I
but
wouldn't get my
I
hopes
don't
up.
very slight chance, but that's about it. I don't think we're gonna get it. If anything, we might get more a Spider-Man 4 than a TASM 3.
More likely at this point.
And now for the final question, since the name is Bon Voyage, which is a song you would sing for a bonfire or a farewell.
Well, oof. I mentioned this before the recording, but it's not the very most like Western focused song. But probably Binks Sake from One Piece because it's a song about traveling and camaraderie and freedom, and I think that fits the kind of very very sentimental group uh vibe of a farewell or like just a big group gathering like a bonfire.
I'll definitely listen to it to see how it is because I haven't seen One Piece, but I do like
Yeah,
listening to music.
the dub of it um has some very resonant lyrics.
Mm.
The original does too, but it the sometimes when you're still having to read the tune or like read the lyrics, it doesn't hit as hard. But
And
yeah. Go ahead.
and now this is also related to music, but now not related to the last question. But which Spider Verse album do you prefer? Into the Spider Verse or Beyond the Spider Verse?
You're talking into or across?
Oh, my bad. Into or Across the Spider Verse? Which
Uh,
album?
I have more nostalgia for Into the Spider Verse. I mean, also honestly, musically, I just prefer it Into the Spider Verses. Um, I also I'm on the Spider-Man side of the internet, and I heard Annihilate so many times that I've grown to kind of hate it. Um, just also it has too cheesy of lyrics. It's too blatantly a Spider-Man song. And I kind of liked that a lot of the songs for Into the Spider-Verse weren't that blatant about it.
Mhm.
I think Elevate was kind of the only one that really mentioned Spider-Man. And even then, it was more casual. So I'd have to say that. I like Home a lot. Nobody talks about that one, but I think that was a really good. Like I think that's like the best song on the album.
That's the one with Juice World, right?
It might be.
Hmm.
It is by let's see. Vince Staples.
Oh, see, I got wrong song.
Nah, you're good. Yeah, it was by Vince Staples. It was in the original like teaser trailer for Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
And then it was in the credits as well, and I remember it a lot, mostly because I think of that original teaser trailer.
now I remember. Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. Like, I never had nostalgia for the Into the Spider Verse soundtrack, except for like two or three songs. Uh, I do like Beyond. I can't Beyond. What the heck? I mean, Across. But yeah, I don't like Annihilate that much like anymore. Like at first, I was like, it's whatever, and then I didn't like. I do like the instrumental for it for sure, but like I don't like the lyrics in it.
Yeah, they're just so cheesy.
But as for favorite track in that soundtrack, um, favorite would probably be Calling.
I don't know if I remember what that one is.
It's like the very last song in the movie.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then there's two other songs I like, but they're not in the album. One's Mona Lisa, which is the one that plays when uh Miles and Gwen reunite and they're web swinging. And the other one is actually by an artist named Lisa who did the Demon Slayer openings.
Oh, yeah. Embarrassing mention. I'm pretty sure that because I'm ashamed that I know this show, but didn't Lisa also do the initial OP for SAO?
Yeah, she did. Two
Yeah.
openings actually.
Oh, that's right. There was a like a much later one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it the first two?
It was for season 1 and then season 2, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Crossing Field, and then I don't remember.
Oh yeah. Um yeah, I think that's all the questions. Thank you very much, JD.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And everyone that's listening to this, thank you for oh wait, before that, you don't want to say any announcements or
Plug anything?
yeah.
Um, God, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mainly want to plug just my cosplay stuff. Like I said, my on pretty much everything is madisonwallcrawler. Um, I'm also if you don't mind me plugging the other thing we were talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Um, I'm also a member of a team of real life superheroes, or costumed activists, is maybe the more politically correct term. Um, called the Justice Foundation, and with our presence primarily being on TikTok right now, even though the ban is pretty impending here in the U.S. Um, uh, we just shifted our focus over to Instagram. So if anybody's interested, you can check us out there. I'm the team's Blue Beetle, more so inspired by the Ted Cord version.
All right. Thank you for the plugins and letting us
Yeah,
know.
thanks for letting me plug my stuff there.
And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in and till next time. Bye.